Chester, New Jersey. A quiet town. A peaceful home. A late afternoon that should have passed like any other. But on June 6, 2026, emergency responders were called to a residence on Pottersville Road. The first report sounded like a medical emergency. A woman was in cardiac arrest. But then came another detail. A serious chest wound. When police and emergency medical workers arrived, they found 35-year-old Brooke Hanlon inside the home. She was beyond saving. What first sounded like a medical crisis quickly became something much darker. A homicide investigation began. The house became a crime scene. The quiet street became part of a mystery. And within hours, the question was no longer what happened to Brooke. It was this. Who killed her? Authorities later confirmed that Brooke died from multiple sharp force injuries, and her death was ruled a homicide. This is where the case begins, not with a suspect, not with an arrest, but with silence. And that silence still surrounds the case. Before Brooke became the subject of headlines, she was a person with a life, a family, and a future. She was 35 years old. A psychotherapist. A wife. A new mother. Reports say Brooke worked with children, adolescents, and families, helping people through emotional struggles and difficult moments. That detail makes the case even more painful. Brooke's work was built around care, listening, and healing. She helped people understand pain, survive trauma, and move forward. A family photo from December 2025 showed what looked like a new chapter, a young couple, a baby, a first Christmas together. But just months later, that image of family life was shattered. This was not only a murder case. It was the destruction of a young mother's future. And for investigators, Brooke's life became the starting point. Who knew her? Who had access to her? Was this random, targeted, personal, or planned? At this stage, police have not publicly confirmed a motive. And that absence is what makes the case so unsettling. The 911 call is one of the most important parts of this case. According to reports, emergency responders were sent to the home after a call around 4:30 p.m. The situation was first described as cardiac arrest. But dispatch information later included that Brooke had a large laceration to her chest. That detail changes the entire tone. Cardiac arrest suggests a medical emergency. A chest wound suggests violence. So what did the caller know? What did they see? Were they confused? Panicked? Trying to save her? Or was the full reality not clear in those first seconds? The identity of the caller has not been publicly confirmed. That leaves a major unanswered question. In homicide investigations, the first call can matter deeply. It can help establish timing, who was present, what was visible, and how the scene first appeared. But in Brooke's case, the public knows very little. And that creates a gap. A gap between the emergency call and the homicide ruling. A gap between what police know and what the public has been told. A gap where speculation can grow, but facts remain limited. The only confirmed truth is this. By the time help arrived, Brooke was dead. This killing did not happen in the middle of the night. It happened in the late afternoon. That matters. A daylight homicide inside a home raises serious questions. How did the attacker get inside? Was there forced entry? Did Brooke know the person? Was the killer already in the home? Did anyone nearby see anything unusual? Authorities have not publicly answered those questions. But they have asked for information about Brooke Hanlon or suspicious activity in the area of Pottersville Road on June 6. That request suggests investigators are trying to reconstruct movement around the home. A car. A person walking. A delivery. A visitor. A sound. A camera recording. Sometimes, one small detail becomes the key. A neighbor who noticed a vehicle. A doorbell camera that captured someone passing by. A timestamp that tightens the timeline. But publicly, there is no confirmed suspect and no arrest. That is what makes the daylight element so disturbing. Because if someone entered that home, attacked Brooke, and left without being caught immediately, then the killer had a window of time. And investigators must determine how big that window was. The home was now the center of everything. Inside, investigators would have been looking for answers. Blood evidence. Fingerprints. Footwear marks. Signs of forced entry. Digital devices. Possible weapons. Any sign of struggle. Anything missing. Anything moved. However, none of those details have been publicly confirmed. What we do know is that Brooke was found dead inside the residence and that the medical examiner determined her cause of death was multiple sharp force injuries. Multiple sharp force injuries can suggest many possibilities. It may indicate a violent struggle. It may suggest rage. It may suggest panic. It may suggest a personal attack. But without official evidence, no conclusion should be treated as fact. That is important. In true crime, it is easy to turn silence into theory. But in an active case, silence may mean investigators are protecting details only the killer would know. So this part of the case must be handled carefully. We know Brooke was killed violently. We do not know who did it. We do not know why. And we do not know what evidence was left behind. But the crime scene almost certainly held the first real clues. After Brooke's death, authorities released very limited information. They confirmed her identity. They confirmed the cause and manner of death. They confirmed the investigation was active and ongoing. But they did not release much more. The Morris County Prosecutor's Office said no additional information could be released in order to protect the integrity of the investigation. That phrase is common in active homicide cases. It can mean investigators are still interviewing people. It can mean they are waiting for forensic results. It can mean they are protecting evidence from contamination. It can mean they do not want a suspect to know what they know. But for the public, it creates fear and frustration. No arrest. No suspect named. No explanation. No clear motive. And for Brooke's family, that silence must be unbearable. Her sister described the family's experience as a nightmare 1 month after the killing. That word matters. Because behind every unsolved case is a family forced to live in the space between grief and answers. They are not only mourning Brooke. They are waiting. Chester is not a place where people expect a murder like this. That is why the case shook the community. A young mother killed inside her home. In daylight. No arrest announced. No public suspect. People naturally wanted to know whether they were safe. Was Brooke targeted? Was the killer someone she knew? Was this random? Could it happen again? Authorities have not publicly answered those questions in detail. A reward of $1,000 was offered for information that could help lead to an arrest. That reward shows investigators still wanted help from the public. In cases like this, community tips can be crucial. Someone may remember a suspicious car. Someone may have camera footage. Someone may have heard something. Someone may know of a conflict, a threat, or a person acting strangely. The public may not realize they have important information until investigators ask the right question. And that is why Brooke's case remained visible. Because somewhere, there may be one missing piece. One person who saw something. One detail that has not yet reached police. Every homicide investigation eventually turns toward motive. Why Brooke? Was she specifically targeted? Was it connected to someone in her life? Was it related to her work? Was it domestic, professional, random, or something else entirely? At this time, no motive has been publicly confirmed. That means this section must remain careful. Brooke's work as a psychotherapist may naturally make people wonder whether her professional life could be relevant. But there is no public evidence confirming that her work was connected to her death. Her personal life may also be examined by investigators, as is common in homicide cases. But again, no public evidence has identified a suspect or motive. So the strongest and most honest point is this: the motive remains unknown. And that is what keeps the case open in the public mind. Because without motive, the story feels incomplete. A violent death inside a home usually leaves people searching for a reason. But sometimes, the reason is hidden in a private interaction. Sometimes it is buried in digital evidence. Sometimes it is known only to the killer. And sometimes, the reason is not what people expect. By early July 2026, more than a month had passed since Brooke was killed. Still, no arrest had been publicly announced. That delay raises more questions. Are investigators waiting on DNA? Phone records? Security footage? Search warrants? Lab results? Witness interviews? Or is the case more difficult than it first appeared? Homicide investigations can move slowly, especially when police want to build a case strong enough to survive in court. An arrest is not the same as justice. Investigators need evidence. They need timelines. They need proof. They need a case that can stand against defense challenges. So delay does not always mean failure. But for the family, every day without an arrest is another day without peace. And for the public, every day without answers makes the mystery deeper. The case had become more than a local tragedy. It became a question that refused to go away. How could a young mother be killed in her own home in broad daylight? And still, no one be publicly named? Brooke Hanlon's story should not be remembered only by the way she died. She was a mother. A wife. A sister. A therapist. A woman with a life ahead of her. Her child will grow up with a question no child should have to carry. Her family is left with grief and uncertainty. Her community is left with fear. And investigators are left with a case that still demands answers. The known facts are limited but devastating. On June 6, 2026, Brooke was found dead inside her Chester, New Jersey home. Her death was ruled a homicide. She died from multiple sharp force injuries. No arrest has been publicly announced. Authorities continue to investigate. But the biggest questions remain unanswered. Who entered the home? Why was Brooke attacked? Was the killer someone she knew? Was the crime planned? Was there a warning sign no one recognized? Until police make an arrest, the case remains open. And the final question stays with the viewer. On a quiet afternoon in Chester, Brooke Hanlon lost her life inside the place where she should have been safest. Someone knows what happened. Someone has the missing piece. And somewhere, the person responsible may still be carrying the secret of what happened inside that house.